Good evening and welcome to the Edufuturists podcast. We're streaming live tonight. We don't normally do this. Normally we just go straight to the podcast platform, but we've got a very special guest with us this evening, so we decided to get on live, make it a bit more interactive. So thank you for joining us wherever you are in the world. But we are in the north of England. I'm just thinking, Ben, Steve, I know that our guest tonight is attracting some listeners, some viewers who probably have never watched us or listened to us before, so we should probably introduce ourselves a bit, I think. So we're the Edufuturists, and we are born out of the passion to change education. Okay, so we kind of, our whole purpose is around an idea of revolution, and we believe that education systems around the world, not all of them, but some of them probably need to undergo a revolution. We're led to believe that education systems will evolve continuously so that our students, our learners can receive the best knowledge and learn the best skills that they need, and that will benefit society. But it doesn't happen in every case. Politics gets involved, lots of other factors get involved. So our whole purpose is to try and showcase some amazing things that are happening in education by exploring the future of education. And we are Dan, Ben and Steve. I'm Dan and I live in Newcastle in the northeast of England. And I'm currently a senior leader in secondary school education, looking after technology integration into education. I'm about to move and do that for a college group that encompasses most of the northeast of England. So exciting stuff.
Yeah, everybody. Hi, everybody. My name's Ben Whittaker. Up until very, very recently, I was working in a college, so that's for 16 to 18-year-olds and some adult learners as well, in the northwest of England, the right side of the country. Always winding down and Steve, because he's from the east side of the country. And so recently I've stepped out and started doing a little bit of contracting work with some technology companies, looking at how they place themselves in education, particularly around the future of education. And as Dan said, it's really important to us to think about how we bridge business, art, economics, politics, and then bridge that into education, and what can we learn from that. So we have guests from all around the world and from all different platforms, really helping us to shape our thinking, and how do we then pass that on to teachers and education leaders to think about what they could do in the future.
Yeah, I'm Stephen Hope. I am from Yorkshire in the north of England, on the right side of the country, Ben. I have 17 years as a teacher and a leader in education. And then this week I started a new job as a CEO of an edtech company that looks at cloud solutions and support around education and transformation for education providers across the UK and 20 countries globally. And yeah, I think the Edufuturists is around that sometimes the collective is more important than one person. Innovation is about a personal learning network and beyond that. And what we have to focus on is, if the system is not working, we create a new system, change it, and a revolution is needed in many countries around the world. And this is why we started the podcast. We are really excited to have our guest on tonight. That is another avenue and a different mechanism to what we normally have. You can hear the nervousness in my voice, I think, because we're so excited.
Yeah, we explore the future of education, and we believe what the topics we're going to discuss tonight really are the future of education. I think the whole area of NFTs, blockchain, cryptocurrency are revolutionizing some areas of the world at the moment, but it's going to permeate a bit deeper, we believe, in the coming years, including education. So we're going to talk to our guest this evening about the impact that it could have. So we're going to introduce our guest now. So we are delighted to be joined by Sebastian, aka Lykke, and he's probably going to tell me I've pronounced that wrong once he comes on. He is the CEO of Enter. Enter is a decentralized NFT marketplace connecting content creators, musicians, artists, and investors.
Yeah, the Enter platform officially launched earlier this month after being in beta throughout June for early adopters. It's already become one of the most largest NFT marketplaces and recently featured in one of Norway's biggest newspapers.
Yeah, the Enter platform is powered by the deflationary cryptocurrency token NFTArt. And the token already has nearly 500,000 holders and a market cap of $46 million. You can follow Sebastian on Twitter at Sebastian Lykke 3 and Enter NFT.
Lykke,
Hey guys,
good evening.
I think you did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying.
Yeah.
Do you know why they did
Thanks
it?
for having
They kept me away from the pronunciation. I can't even pronounce my own name, so never mind yours, mate. So Ben and Dan are doing a great job. Cheers to them.
Well, you need the right person to the right job. That's how you
And that's why we gave it to Dan. He's always
Yeah.
the right person for every job.
Nice.
So, Lykke, it's fantastic to have you on, joining us from Oslo in Norway. I said before we went live that room is looking really, really cool, and I'm just wondering,
Thank
is that bull sending some subliminal messages out there?
I like subliminal messages.
So we're gonna, and we've said this. We've said our audience are probably not going to know too much about NFTs, if anything at all. They've probably heard of cryptocurrencies from mainstream media, and so probably don't know a great deal there. And kind of the blockchain technology. You are a CEO within an NFT enterprise. Could we start at kind of NFT 101 and let's jump in there. So for our audience, what is an NFT?
Of course, yeah. An NFT is a non-fungible token, but to have something to put that into context, I'll just quickly explain what a blockchain is. A blockchain is basically a way of a group of either people or investors or interested parties to verify that the contents or that a sum of transactions is correct, and that you can put this information in a ledger that will be proof of said transactions. It's a simplified way, but basically means that you don't need one entity to confirm or one entity to be in control of validating the information that you have in the ledger. Usually the best example is a bank. When you use money from your bank, that bank is responsible for all the transactions. And if something were to happen to that bank, then, well, you would be at risk. While a blockchain has the same security measures in a way by having either a concept of proof of work or proof of stake. I can explain those later if you want, but those are not that important for the NFT part. But it's two ways of validating or making sure that the people validating each block in the chain is doing so truthfully. And the reason why I'm explaining this before NFTs is because for a token to be non-fungible and to be like totally secure, you need to have a system where that token can reside and stay secure. And if you just had this and it was in a regular bank, then you wouldn't be anywhere. That's what people do with bank boxes and proof of deeds and stuff like that for apartments. They put it in a bank box in the bank they trust the most, and yeah, that's how they keep it. But with the blockchain technology, you can build a trustless system, which basically means you don't need to trust someone in the system as long as you can understand how the system works. And with NFTs, you can then make things like documents, artworks, music into non-fungible tokens, which means proof of something that someone else cannot tamper with, basically.
So when you say that, when you make the artwork into an NFT, do you mean that that bit of blockchain is attached to that image or that audio file? Is that what you mean?
It depends a bit, like what you do. For example, with an artwork, you upload the image somewhere, and you tie the metadata to that image and the location of that image and the uploading of that image into a token, and you own that token, which means that you own the contents of the data, basically. And that's why you have decentralized storage as well, because then you can store these files that you're actually making an NFT from, decentralized, and the token can prove that you own the thing or what exists in that location.
So just on that, why do you think it's in? And this might sound a 101 question, but why is it important to kind of decentralize that? More is it the fact that you were saying there about rather than having one person? Is it the fact that it's a collective? Is that what makes it more trustworthy than perhaps other forms of ownership?
For me, it's a bit about power and the incentive of someone to have that power. Because I like to use the example of deeds to property in less developed countries, because that's where I see them like the most immediate impact. If you have a really troubled region where governments change a lot, and let's say you have saved for 20 years and you buy a house, and everything is in order, the deed's in the bank, and you have signed the papers, but the next week some other government takes over and they just burn all the existing documents and claim that it's theirs, then you actually have no way of proving that you owned it. And I think that having a decentralized way of storing this type of information, which is crucial that no one else can tamper with, because if you own it, you should be the only one that could change that ownership. At least that's my belief. And to some people, that's a bit a radical belief, but I think that's common, or yeah, for me, that's common sense, that if you own something, no one else should be able to take it from you. And just to spin off a bit here, imagine like cars in the future, because now people can steal cars, right? If they steal your keys, they get your car. But if you have the most secure wallets in the future and the access to your things require you to actually verify through your wallet that you have the NFT and you want to use it, or that you own the car and you want to start it, you could do a really big impact on let's say the secondhand market and try actually prevent a lot of things that are popular stolen items to be stolen. Imagine your phone. If you cannot verify through an NFT or somewhere in the blockchain that you own, that you bought the phone, that you the person bought the phone, then the phone shouldn't work. Like, you could hardware program this in the future, making it impossible to actually activate things without proof of ownership.
That's it. That's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it is.
I'd never, like, the fact that an NFT might start a car one day. I'd never thought of that application.
There are a lot of like, the sky's the limit, because now NFTs are like affiliated with art and music and stuff you can buy. But to me, it's basically a decentralized way of proving you own something. And the way I see like technology developing and how expansive it is, one new technology leads to like 3 new, which leads to like 9 new, which just pushes it. I see that you could actually automate pretty much anything. Like, let's say the internet, people are posting images they don't own on social media. You could basically stop it. Like, every big social media could just be like, no, you have to have the NFT to be able to post an image.
And what that then does is then it kind of it makes it levels a playing field, doesn't it? It makes it fair.
Yeah.
It means that there's a level of, I suppose, there's a level of justice, and I know we'll get into some of that about the passion of the team at Enter to bring justice and to bring fairness around this. And it's brilliant, because I know that some organisations where you can, like you said, put images up or videos or music, and the person who created that, who spent the blood, sweat, and tears to create that, actually doesn't have any ownership of it, and doesn't get any royalties, or is very, very poor in what they get in relation, isn't it?
Exactly. And like, the scope of the conversation today has to be very small, because as you started the podcast, most people don't know what an NFT is even. But I think pushing it like a lot further into the future allows people to start imagining, oh, this could be possible. And yeah, like we talked about before, we like on Monday when we had a small chat, like owning your education and owning your knowledge in a way that no one can disprove it. Like, you can actually be who you say you are, and no one can take that away from you as long as you have achieved what you want. Like, you could implement this into anything, and especially in countries where they have less developed social structures and more volatility, because who knows what happens with the education system. Suddenly your degree is gone, and I ran a gas station a few years ago and I had this amazing guy from Afghanistan who worked nights, and getting to know him, he was like, no, he was an engineer, and he had a second degree as well, been in school for 9 years, so 2 degrees, came to Norway, they couldn't verify it, so yeah, he had to work at a gas station. Like, he was like, if someone just asked me the questions, they would know I know everything, but they were like, no, we can't verify it. So
how bonkers, but it's so true. We see it. We have in the organization I used to work for, we had a large contingent of English as second language speakers, and we couldn't verify, or they were saying that the qualifications that they had gained were not applicable in terms of the UK or Europe. And it's like, how is that? Learning is learning. Surely it shouldn't be based on the qualification or the awarding body. But I'd go back to what you said, and I think we've heard it here first. You are the Walt Disney of NFT and crypto. You are bringing it and making the imaginable unimaginable, or the unimaginable imaginable. You know, let's see how far we can take it, and let's build it. And you heard it. That's a quote that everybody needs to take and put on social media. That you are the Walt Disney of it. Let's bring it to the masses, and let's get the unimaginable imaginable, mate. Definitely.
Thank you. We actually have an earlier Disney artist on our platform, Mulligan. So that's fun.
That's cool.
I doubt he would agree, though.
So let's because I think we've almost done there what like an overview of what we want to go into. So I think let's dive into kind of to you really, and I think we can pull out a lot of the themes as we go along. So you were saying just before we went live that you've been with Enter. Was it 2 months? Did you say?
Yeah, I joined directly after. Like, if you look at the charts, right after the all-time high when we were down there, that's when I joined.
Right.
It has. It was that weekend because I know the founders and we talked a lot, and that weekend we realized the potential of this, because that many people being interested in something in that short amount of time without anyone in their face about it. Like, we didn't do any. We had some YouTubers that did some, not on our behalf, but that did their own videos, like moontubers, we call them. Right. But seeing so many people interested and aspired to the problem we were trying to solve, we were like, okay, we can scale this up.
Yeah, I think we probably need to just like put the brakes on just a bit there, because you talked about all-time high. I think there'll be a lot of our audience not knowing what you mean by that, because we haven't really explained the crypto side of the platform yet. So could you just give us like a bit of an introduction to that?
And this will make a lot of people happy, because I think that's the most question I've been asked since I joined the project, is to talk about the token price. And I never do, because that's not something that I can do anything about other than the company. But in this case, I can actually explain what it is. Because we want to transfer power back from the people that now have it in creative departments, like big businesses and stuff, back to the people that create. And to do this in the best possible way without directly interfering with the transactions, our founder, Kim Andre, had thought of a way to use a deflationary tokenomics system, which is a very advanced word, which basically means that every time you use the currency or the token that we have made but we don't own, to buy art or to invest or to do, a certain part of it will be destroyed and a certain part of it will be redistributed to everyone.
Okay, you said you made it but you don't own. What do you mean by that?
And that's quite important for us, at least since our goal is to make something for other people, not just for ourselves. when you make a cryptocurrency, like you can make a blockchain, which is way more technically advanced than making a token, or you can make a smart contract that acts as a currency that people can trade and use as a commodity. And it's not allowed to just make security for many reasons, because that would be crazy if it was allowed. So you have to make something of utility. So our utility is that we want to mimic the way art and investing in art has worked throughout history in cryptocurrency, because you can directly integrate in how that market works with the money that you use to buy stuff from that market. And art has worked. I like to use Rembrandt as an example, just because I remember his name. But let's say he made 1,900 pictures when he was alive, and some people bought 200 of them, and there are now 19 left in 2021. That scarcity and that reduction of the availability over time is one of the reasons why Rembrandt's paintings are so amazing and so popular. Because yes, he was a talent, but he was a talent of many of that time. But he was a talent that endured, but also had scarcity in regards to acquiring it. So we thought, for digital artists, that like if you're a digital artist, you've basically had issues making money since you started. Unless you're the world's greatest, it's so easy to plagiarize. It's so easy to. It's very hard to verify yourself as I am the original creator if you're not very technical and don't have a good social media presence. And giving people a way to not need to sell their art for as much money as possible now, and having a way of the artist to, if they want to invest their time as investors do in their artwork, they can also profit of investing like investors have. And throughout history, only the people buying art has been able to invest in art, not the artists. So many of the world's most selling artists now, well, they're not the richest. They're investors, the ones that have been collecting the art. They are the richest. The artist died 100 years ago, and his family doesn't get anything. But with this system, you can actually, with the redistribution and the splitting of royalties we will have later, you can actually, create a future for your family as an artist and for yourself as an artist. And you can have a predictable life and contribute in a way that is not right here, right now, but more over time. And I think creative minds and having them being able to think more than 3 months ahead and more than the next bill, but have them think about the future. That's how we're going to solve a lot of problems in the world. Yeah, I don't remember the question, but I hope I answered it.
So then, I suppose, why do you need a currency? Why you created a currency, and to kind of sell, so that people could buy and sell art. Why did you need to create your own currency then?
Well, we want to symbolize that fiat has been used up until cryptocurrency as the payment for everything, because it replaced trading, which it was an upgrade from. And before cryptocurrency, we have not had the technology to actually replace fiat as great payment ways for other types of commodities. And I believe that's what we're in the midst of now, a revolution in like finding out, okay, we have this great technology now. We have a system that's trustless. We have a system where you don't need to stay active and verify something there. It can be done trustlessly on your behalf. Now we can actually make improvements into our society and into how exchanging information or commodities or value actually happens.
What I find quite interesting about your currency, your token, is that I guess with fiat, a lot of fiat currencies, especially here in the UK and America, the government will produce more of it. So so there's a crisis, and especially what we're seeing at the moment, kind of as we're hopefully coming out of COVID and governments trying to kind of kickstart the economy or essentially printing more money and putting it into the economy to get things going. And we all know, I think, just basic economics, that it causes inflation. But your token is kind of doing the opposite. Do you want to go into a bit about how that works?
In hyperdrive, doing the opposite. So basically, there is a 5% burn on every transaction on the blockchain. And that means that if you try to send me 90 pounds or 100 pounds, 5 of those pounds will be destroyed. There's also a 5% redistribution on every transaction, which means that 5 of those pounds or 5 of the 100 will be redistributed to everyone on the holder list or that has that currency. And the destroyed currency, it gets sent to a wallet, which is called dead, which means that it's dead. It doesn't work. It's no way to access it. There's no way to hack it. And seeing then as 5% gets redistributed and 5% gets burned, that 5% that gets redistributed will increase over time as to how much gets burned, because the burn wallet is a part of the holder. So now the math gets like, this is an education podcast, so probably someone will know the math, but it's now 67, soon 68% of the total supply that is burned, which means that 68% of those 5% will be burned. So basically around 8% or something of every transaction now gets destroyed, and there is no way in ever to create more tokens. That's why also we don't own the contract, because then we could be a central bank and we could be like, oh, we need tokens, and we could just make more. But now everything you do on the blockchain will reduce the circulating supply and will reduce the available amount. And
that increases the value.
In theory, when the demand increases, it increases in value. And that's how art has worked. Like patient people, they buy art from up-and-coming artists, they hold it for 30 years, and then they sell it for millions, because there is no one else that has the art. They have everything, and they can...
And just following your Twitter account, you have celebratory burns, is that right? Where you, with different milestones, you guys burn some of it yourself?
Yeah, like the idea for us is that our development fund is supposed to have 4% of the total supply. This means that we will get around 0.25% of each transaction in reflections without directly being part of the transaction. So when you buy something on our site, you're not buying it through us. You're buying it through a smart contract that is on the blockchain directly from the seller. And this is the only way that, at least that we have been able to think of, where you can actually have a decentralized marketplace through people without transaction fees. Because if we were to take a fee, then we could change that fee. We could increase the fee.
That's clever. That's really clever.
But now we have no way of doing that. So the rules that we set at the beginning are going to be there through the end of time. And a lot of more people are understanding that, oh, this is of like immense value. But a lot of people in crypto are very short-sighted, and they need things to happen in 1, 3, 6 months. But what we're trying to change is how artists and creators have been treated through history, and that's going to take a bit more than 6 months.
Yeah, but I think you've got a clash of worlds, haven't you? You've got you guys who are trying to create an actual usable platform for artists, for content creators. It's the business. It's about solving an issue in the real world. Like any good business, underpinned there by the token, the crypto token. But then on the other hand, we live in a world where Bitcoin's 12 years old. A lot of people got very rich off Bitcoin, and so now you see millions of people jumping in on tokens, on new cryptocurrencies, seeing it almost as a get rich quick scheme. And so obviously you guys like you said before you joined the project, you reached an all-time high. So obviously there's a group of investors out there who bought in thinking, well, yes, these are cheap. I'll wait till the value's gone up and then I can cash out and ka-ching, here we go. And so and then you've got that growing impatience because other coins over recent years, especially over the last 2 years, like we look at Ethereum, Cardano, that have even the meme coins as well that are kind of going through the roof up until a couple of months ago, of course. It seems to be going through a bit of a downturn at the moment. But so you've got that clash of you guys wanting to do business, wanting to develop a business. And I think as well, like, you guys have been in business. I mean, I know you said the ideas and the development from your founders, the ideas and everything's been generated for 8 years. But in reality, you guys have been in business a few months. And all of a sudden, people want you to be a player on the world stage in terms of business.
I'll tell people from the start, it's not about if we get there, it's just when. And if you need me there tomorrow, that's not going to happen. But if you give me a few years, then yeah.
Yeah. I've got a question.
It's funny as well. Like, did you watch The Social Dilemma, the movie or the documentary on Netflix?
Yeah.
Because that feedback loop that they talked about there, that's all I see in crypto. Like, people, because they see some people getting rich on meme coins, they think that everyone's getting rich on meme coins, and they don't realize it's mostly the same people. And Dogcoin is my best example, because all the people that I know and that I've seen that got rich of it, they didn't invest in it 6 months ago. They invested in it like 3-4 years ago. It's not, the perspective of the people based off input from social media is crazy. Like, I get messages every day saying we're slow at developing, and I also get messages from people that have been in tech for 30, 40 years saying they've never seen a project develop so fast. Like, I wonder where people get their information from, because I agree everything can be done quicker, but it's scary to see Twitter, at least, because there's so much misinformation going around, and it's so easy to retweet something you don't have any idea of what it says. But yeah, it's exciting.
Just going back to the tokenomics before we move on, I guess it's the obvious question, and I think you've probably already answered it, I think, in terms of how you guys with the developers' wallets earn your money to keep the business running. But I suppose a lot of people will be saying, why did you make so many of them? Why didn't you make it scarce from the beginning?
Well, it's not how automated market makers work. It basically doesn't matter what amount you start at. You could start at 1. It would just fractionize, because the automated market maker won't let you buy everything. So based on how much money you give it, it will give you a certain percentage, and based on how many people ask for or try to buy it, they will give less and less of a percentage. So it's a percentage game. But the main reason is to stay off the fraction numbers of Bitcoin as long as we can. Because in Bitcoin now you own 0.0003 Bitcoin, and that's like $2,000 or whatever. And it doesn't make sense. So we know we will get there, because Kim André has been in crypto for 12 years, since the beginnings. So he knows exactly how everything works. Yeah. So by starting with an insanely high supply, it will take longer until we need to be on the fraction system. And it also, if people have patience and actually believe in the project, it really benefits people if they try to understand that.
Yeah, it's coming. Your belief in this is coming across so strong, like your passion for not just your passion, like there's your actual belief of where this can go, almost like you're seeing a few years into the future and saying what this could be. Is there
exactly how I feel?
I'm guessing though, is there some risk there? I know we're talking almost like NFTs are going to be huge, that blockchain will keep growing and growing, and mass adoption will happen in the next decade, for example. is there any risk that all this technology could just kind of fizzle a bit? And I'm asking the question on behalf of people who are thinking maybe of getting more involved in this world.
I totally just give me my screen tries to turn off here. Let's see. I think there's always risk with anything, but I think the risk here is more about time, because you have so many projects working all the angles. It's like a stealth revolution, where the governments who would be against it actually mysteriously are trying to build their own solutions as well, because they see the value. And I think there are so many decentralizing projects that will help empower people, that the people that don't want them, they won't have any idea until they're present enough to actually take the power. And the way to shut it down would be like, well, never say never, but it would be like shutting down the internet or something like that, but I think time is the big factor. And at least for us as a company, and for me personally, don't just try to solve problems on the blockchain. They have to be better solutions than off-chain solutions. And I think that's a risk that I see a lot of projects that are really good at gaining attention, really in people's faces, but don't actually offer any major leap of value or major leap of the next step, like the next technology. They're just moving something from one place to the other, and that is infectious because they're good at what they do, like getting attention, but it will ultimately lead to a lot of people feeling that blockchain didn't give the value they thought, because someone that does a lot of marketing is telling you that this will add value to you, and they believe it, and then it comes and it doesn't add value. So I think that's a risk that people should look into. Like, is this actually a use case that couldn't have been done off chain and that will benefit people's lives on chain?
And I love that you're talking about benefiting people's lives, because I think there's a wider purpose here, isn't there? This isn't about you and the founders making money. And although because it feels like that you probably are clever enough and have got enough technology to be able to do that in different ways, it feels like what you're trying to do is give something back from an artist's point of view, but also you use the phrase revolution, and you're trying to revolutionize the way that this works. And it feels like there's a lot of it's noble that, but why bother? Because the world is a selfish place, and so most people are looking out for themselves and trying to make as much money as they can in the easiest way possible.
Man.
Yeah.
quick and simple explanation. But no, the fun part is all of us of the founders have, like, half of us are artists and half of us have interacted with artists in such a meaningful way that we know that, it looks on the images on Instagram like it's a luxurious life, but it's being treated like a shit and being treated, sorry about that, I don't know if that, being treated like really bad and being treated like a commodity when you're actually a human. And the way we built the system, like, we could choose, when you make a smart contract, you can choose how many tokens you get in the development fund. And we see so many projects giving like 30% to the development fund, giving 20%, giving 25%. And we could do that too if you wanted to when we made it. But the reason we made 4% is because, well, the way we're going to build it and the way, or our goals, we're going to make money anyway. Like, we don't need to have 20% to be a successful company. 4% to do it. It's just going to take longer until we have a lot of money. But that also means that artists and investors and collectors and people that use the platform and use what we're making, they're going to be the ones making money, like, directly proportionally to what they contribute. And what we should contribute is a ecosystem that has a lot of users, because with a lot of users, that's how we make money. But the individual contributors, they can make money with just one buyer. And I think that's a fair way of distributing the wealth in a when we're not the ones creating anything. So why should we have the most wealth?
Yeah, and you mentioned time, patience in a society, in a world that is quick fix. You want a suntan, you're going to sunbed, or even inject or take a tablet. You want to go to the gym. Many people in society now want to be big, want to be ripped, want to be trim. You don't want to go to the gym and build it over time. You're taking a tablet or you're doing something in terms of how do we change that in terms of a society where we get back to the fundamentals of things take time, have patience. Rome wasn't built in a day. How do we do it when everybody's saying, but I want it now and I want it? And how do I get to that point where they want the injection? They want you to be the injection that they take to make them rich now and get involved. How do we change that as a culture?
I feel blockchain is a really good example because let's say just Bitcoin, for an example. Every wave in which Bitcoin has rewarded people that have been patient, you have more people understanding that things take patience. And every time until this recent Dogecoin explosion, I feel there has been projects of value that have shown that if you invest and you invest time, then you get rewarded. And then we have this meme storm now that's really bad. But I feel that being the example and really just, like I talk with you about is that I get so many messages every day about the token price, like some people a lot of times during the day. And unless they get to experience, I believe life is built of reference experiences. So if you have more references to something going one way, then you'll believe it. And these people, the way they act, they will never experience actually that investing time into something and believing in something over a period of time is of value, because they don't try it, they don't make the attempt. But by doing the things that you are doing, like investing time to talk to people about ideas and showing that you can talk about something now and it happens in 3 years, like news, everything around us is like but being the change, being part of the change, and not bending to, okay, we need to do this now. Like, actually, no, actually, we want to do this in 3 years and it's going to be really good. Because every wave, a lot of people are going to, more people are going to join in, more people are going to have faith, and more people are going to have the experience that time and good research and good fundamentals equals value. But some people, we have this guy called Tokenomics. He's a YouTuber, and he makes some really interesting videos about like fighting FUD and fear, uncertainty, and doubt in investing. And he says that FUDers lose their ability to read once they lose their fucking dollar. And I think that's more true than that. You can be like, because people expect what they see on social media. They put their dollar in and they don't get it, but they still see people in this feedback loop getting it. So they feel it's something done to them. Something unjust is happening to them because everyone else is getting it. And I've never experienced that, but I would think you would get blind.
Yeah, his videos are wild. I think I sent one to Ben and Steve.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. It is wild. Yeah.
If you're not a fan of colorful language, probably not the best videos, but they're good. They're good. It'd be good. Let's move on to the actual platform, because I feel like and like you say, you getting messages every day saying when's the price going to go? When's the price going to go up? It's not about that, is it? It's about your passion and the founder and that core team that you have there. It's art is the passion, isn't it? And so can we talk a bit about what you guys are doing for artists? I know we've touched on it, but let's go in depth, because I think what you're doing in the art world is quite exciting. And as somebody who's not in the art world at all, I've never produced a bit of art in my life. I probably don't get how much you guys are doing for artists. So could you jump into that for us?
Yeah. So the idea that I talked about earlier about our revenue being based on transactions, that means basically that if we can engage artists to create more, better, faster, and more engaging, and if we can engage collectors to have a better experience in buying, better experience in collecting, trading, we get further by using more and making more tools. And since that is the only way we can get further, that is the only way we can develop. And for artists, having, let's say, a manager, if the manager also is supposed to give you the tools, and probably all business people, they think cost, and they think, how much can I earn from this? And there's a fee on everything. And so basically, for being an artist today in different genres, you have to have so many services, or so expensive services, to get the tools you need to do the things you want to do, that your profit just basically sinks. And once you've made the sale, well, then it stops. So your entire being is being pushed into being creating more and more and selling more and more, not better and better, or more special, or more unique, or it's so tied to volume, because that's you have only the first sale point to actually make money, and you have all these costs. So okay, more costs, I need to make more units, and oh, then there's more costs, okay, now I need to make more units, and you have this feedback loop that it messes with creativity. Once you can remove that feedback loop and say, here you have all the tools in the world, it's not going to cost you a thing to create, we're not going to take anything from you, and all it costs is transaction fees on the blockchain to do the things that you need to do. And that's like very small transaction fees on Binance Smart Chain, which we are on, which basically means artists can get the tools to create, to store. They can, in the future, we're working on a collaboration project, and the one we talked a bit about in regards to science and scientific journals, but for artists. So imagine an artist from the Gambia, and USA and England, they want to make a gallery together. They can digitally connect. They can choose their style. They can talk to each other. They can create an online gallery, and they can sell their art in the style they want, instead of having to partner with someone, having to do it physically, and someone charging them a lot of money to do it. Okay, we'll promote you, but then we'll take 20%. Why not build a system where the system it benefits from doing stuff for people? So and since everything is based digitally, you can automate a lot of this in the future. So you can actually have like artists just signing up to collaborate. It can create the site for them. Once they're done, they can hit promote. It can go out to the bots that promote it on the social medias, and then you can have the artist retweet or push it further. So you have the organic element as well. So you can basically build world-class tools that you don't need to charge for, because the use of the tools on the platform is enough revenue to make it worth it.
Yeah, I think what I'm excited, that decentralization element of that is interesting. When we were talking on Monday night, we were talking about how kind of the big PR stunts are the ones that people know about, like Sotheby's auctioning off NFTs. Yeah, it just went. My mind just went blank.
But we're doing that's so fun as well, like, because everything is so tied together, and because all of our revenue is going to be based off of tokens, so everything's trackable, right? Everything is done on the chain, so we can be 100% transparent of every cent that the company gets. We can do a percentage evaluation of it. So let's say in 5 years, when we're really big, let's say we have an artist from Africa, an up-and-coming artist, just started, and suddenly he reaches $10,000 in revenue for our company. And we don't need to make $10,000 of an artist from Africa. So we could then contact him automatically based on set parameters and say, well, now we feel we've made too much money off of you. We want to use half of it and help you promote yourself or something in your country. And then we can set that automatically up with a marketing firm and you could build like what a label does for artists, or what a gallery does for artists. You can build this into an automated system, so that as long as you contribute and as long as you use the system and you make money from the system, when the system makes money from you, it will help you further advance your career.
Yeah, but I think
we want to create that feedback loop. It's instead of the negative feedback loop of social media, we're going to create a creative, positive feedback loop that just pushes innovation and helps people that think original thoughts and create original things reach the world.
And that decentralization element of it means that, I guess, it's not like we talked about early on in the show. It's not somebody at a big firm somewhere who's deciding which art goes on sale, deciding which art is up for auction. And I guess the kind of the diversity of art will get a chance to shine through. So some types of art that we've never even heard of by people from all over the world, and that might not seem to be mainstream art, but actually can be given a platform here, and because it's not somebody saying, well, actually that's no good to go on this auction or not, but actually it's given people a voice who I guess maybe don't have a voice at the moment.
And this is just with Enter.Art. Imagine when we have Enter.Art, audio, video, photography, and streaming and movies, for example, and you have these creative minds that just, they now have a community to go to. We have our community on discord.gg/enter. If you're a movie maker, okay, I need some music. Okay, this guy, I like his NFTs. Okay, I can integrate with that. And you find the people that you like the creative force of. You can do a project together across borders. You can sell this as an NFT, and you can split the royalties, so that every purchase of this NFT is split amongst the creators. And you can do this without ever having signed a contract or meeting each other. Like it removes so many hassles for people to start working together. And like now we've talked a lot about art, but our conversation on Monday about science, I think that's for me one of the big things about like decentralizing ownership, of knowledge. Like scientific journals.
Yeah, we were talking about, weren't we, about how scientific journals where more scientific new discoveries and work is published are so expensive that you have to be part of a university or a large institution in order to get a subscription. But we live in a world where not all the scientists work at universities. Some of the scientists are teenagers in their bedroom experimenting with things, and we live in a world that's more open to that research. And we were talking about, I think I mentioned there's a famous site out there where somebody illegally copies all the journals and puts them on there for free for people, and a lot of governments have now gotten wise to that and are starting to shut this website down, and essentially closing off a channel to new scientific discoveries and research. So what NFTs could do in that field could really push that into the open space, I guess.
Yeah.
But then the problem with that then is that whole concept around, from an art point of, similar kind of as an art point of view, is that some people become who have like big pharma or some of these other big scientific discovery companies, they lose out here, don't they? If they don't have ownership and they don't have kind of control, and that's what this.
But
that's
you
what
still have that. That's the interesting part, because you can use blockchain technology to allow, first of all, scientists to work together, and they can publish and update their work while having ownership or proof that they are the ones that come up with information. But the further potential layers of it is like bringing DeFi and research and development into the mix. And as we talked a bit about on Monday, like in the future, you could potentially have scientific staking pools where big pharma, the reason they're big is because they have enough money to actually start funding big research that makes them bigger. But what if good scientists have the possibility to create scientific staking pools where they can actually get the big money themselves and they can have the ownership, and big pharma can do the same? they can just fill up the pool with their own money, and they can still own the ownership, and they can also benefit from the revolution. And I think that's the fun part about blockchain, because both parties get the benefits at the same time, but at a certain point there's not going to be much of a need for the big party, because if all the features are available for the individual human as well as the big companies, then after 25, 30, 40 years, why do we want to give it to the big companies when we could do it together?
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
You have to dream big, you know.
I guess we've spent the best part of an hour there, kind of getting into all of that. But we should probably talk a bit about how where we see this integrating into education, because that's kind of it's the purpose of the podcast, I guess, and it's what we're into. And I guess when I first come across NFTs not so long ago, immediately started thinking of some of the possibilities here for kind of firstly for verification. So for institutions that offer qualifications, and I know we've talked on the podcast a lot about kind of digi portfolios, so a way for students as they're going through kind of their educational life and into the world of work can kind of collect their skills almost. Very much in the UK at the moment, it's kind of, we have end point exams, so you leave school at 16, you do some exams, you leave college at 18, you have some exams, you maybe go on to university, you get a degree, and then you're taking around these certificates, but that actually most businesses aren't that interested in. They want to know what you can do, what your experience is, what your skills are, and we kind of this is our bag really, in terms of looking into kind of the future of the working world and the skills that are going to be needed, like collaboration, communication, critical thinking, problem solving, and how do you verify that, I guess. So my immediate thought was a kind of a digi portfolio built on this technology that can be verified, and it's not just some learner typing in "I've got this skill," but it's actually verified by their experience and by maybe an institution or like I think there's so many ways we could take this conversation right now, but I know you've got some ideas of your own, haven't you, in terms of kind of the ownership of I know we were talking on Monday, but you're talking about the ownership of tutorials and the ownership of content as well.
Well, I think you made a good point as well about like verification, because that's a big part of blockchain, right? If you just make a blockchain certificate, but the institutions have to verify it, then you're basically, as we talked about before, you're just adding the same feature to the blockchain. And you would need that to get people firstly interested in it and firstly like grasping it. But I think the proof of stake model is very interesting in a way that where you reward the people that verify, or the groups or the nodes that verify something, but you also punish them if they verify something of ill that's not real. So instead of having one institution verifying that your qualifications are real, if internationally we can create like a standard of method or data that people submit in regards to knowing something, or in regards to proving that someone else has taught something to you, and you have a system that's built around proof of stake. It's going to take a while to explain proof of stake, so I suggest people Google proof of stake, because it's very interesting. But then you would have a system that basically incentivizes truthful judgment and truthful evaluation of people, because if you make a false verification, you get punished. And you can monetize this, so you can actually have validators internationally, because education is profitable. The world has shown that. So instead of having that profit, the big investors that buy schools and try to make that too efficient, or you can actually have validators that validates that people know something in a model that is trustless again, because the incentive is there to only have people that actually know it verified. And if you verify someone that doesn't know what they should, then you get punished. So it's but the other thing that we talked about, which I thought was interesting, is undeniable proof of knowledge is one thing, but you can automate recruitment. You can, if all your skills are in NFT or are available to the public and they have been verified so that they are actually true, I can recruit someone from all over the world without them having to apply for a job. Because if they register in a decentralized platform that they are interested in a job without applying, they can just, every time they get a new skill, they don't have to update anything. As long as their personality is connected to that place, they're available. So you could basically find people with the exact skills you need and the exact knowledge you need, and you can then send them query. Like, hey, I need you for a project, or hey, you have these skills. Could we grab a talk? And for workers is one thing, but I think science is the big thing here that will give us the leap. Because, having scientists just being able to pick scientists based off of knowledge without having to know their names or knowing where they are or what universities, just know that the information on this place is validated. And if it says he knows it, he knows it.
So like a competency-based framework to demonstrate over a period of time the experts, whoever they are, or a collection of the community globally, have identified that they are competent in their field or variety of field skills. That's really powerful. And I know there's bits of work at a very low level in Germany in terms of competency-based TAP, rather than, don't know how it works in the Scandies, but in the UK, to demonstrate competency, what you have to do is you have to write about it. And that's so up to date, isn't it? So how can we change that? And I think this is so powerful, the revolution of competency-based frameworks in NFT and verified on a platform like this, which is owned by the individual rather than... And just to go back as well, you talked about education and people making money, that when you move from one organization to another, an awarding body who has certified your qualification, they can charge for somebody else to get that, even you. How mad is that? So you've done something 4 years ago. I've lost a certificate. If you want to prove that you've done it, even though you've already paid once, you can pay again for a certificate. But I've done it. It's my knowledge, not yours. And again, transferring that to the ownership and the people is so powerful and will change it, because it's broken and it needs changing.
It's broken. And if we dream for a minute, like let's say we dream 30 years in the future, I don't see people working at in a company. I see people doing tasks. I see people doing tasks based on what they know and being able to do tasks when they need to do tasks or when people need them to do tasks. And having a system which is not under anyone's control, but where all the people in the world are available. And if you need someone to program this, or if you need a repair of that, or if you need this produced, only the people that have those skills or the companies that have those skills, or those will be available to you. And you can just order specific things as you need. Because in 30 years, a lot of the world's going to be automated. And to live in the illusion that we're all going to have full-time jobs doing one thing all day, it's not probably going to happen. But what engages me is to think that, okay, but maybe we can use all our knowledge in the future. You can actually spend your days not just doing one thing, but anything that you can do, you can actually contribute with. And I think that will create a much more positive and evolving world where I see so many unhappy people working somewhere so long because they need the stability. They know they can do that task, but what they're really good at is planting flowers in the garden or whatever they want to do. And because of the expectation of, well, I need this many hours, and then I have to do this, and I need this education. Well, if you can prove that you have the skills to take care of those types of flowers and people want to pay you to take care of those types of flowers, they should be able to do that. You shouldn't have to go through all the hoops of everything else as long as you have the verification that you can perform a task. Yeah.
And I know when we talked and prior to the start of the podcast, we talked about your experience, education, and the fact that you were tapped up and worked and brought into work before you finished. And I think that's one thing that currently the environment is, you have to spend a year's experience, a finite year's experience to be able to get a job. Completely gets rid of it. Because what's to say an 11-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 20-year-old experience can be bad and be good. If you can demonstrate, it doesn't make any difference how old you are, that's transferable. And I think it completely changes that.
And do you know what's really interesting as well? That's not just like from a technical skill set there as well. Because I'm thinking I've got a 7-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old daughter, and I had a conversation with her teacher yesterday of the 7-year-old, and they said, "Oh, she's exceeding expectation in everything. She's flying. She's doing really well." I said, "So what's next for her then? What are you doing with her?" And they looked at me like I was stupid, because I was saying to him, obviously, have you put her onto like year 3's work or the next year group work? Oh, no, they can't do that. I said, why? I said, because then she said, well, what will they do in year 3 then? And it made me think, actually, we've so pigeonholed children and say, this is what you need to learn in this time frame. And therefore, if you are somehow got an ability to develop beyond that, then we need to control you and we need to keep it this way, because then ultimately you're going to do your GCSEs early, your A levels early, you're going to go to university. All these things then just get messy, don't they? It's just bonkers. And this kind of
ruin your life.
but it brings a whole sense of a development, individuals and individuals care, but also a collective, doesn't it?
It kind of builds on. I know our last podcast, if you're on the podcast channel, the one before it with Josh Dan, who was the co-founder of Elon Musk's SpaceX school at Astra, and it's kind of how they worked, wasn't it, Ben? Like they didn't have, we call them year groups, they call them grades over in America. They didn't come in and put them in a year group, and when you hear Elon Musk talk about that, and Josh was talking about it when we chatted to him, that it's almost discrimination, really, to a certain level, to say, right, you're that age, so that's all you can do. And we wouldn't do that kind of when someone's an adult. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't say, well, you're only 26. Well, you can't be doing something that a 35-year-old can do. And I guess that's
Some people try.
Yeah, and it's to be honest, they've been doing it for quite a while,
Yeah.
But I guess that's where that verification of skills. I mean, I know we're talking about kind of the leaving of education and going into the world of work, but why not down at that lower level? Why not down at the primary education level of building up those verifications now? I don't see why not in the next decade.
And imagine, like, for a kid, like, if you're different, no matter if you're better or worse, you're gonna feel bad. At least that's my experience from trying to actually figure this out. Because I've just recently, or 2.5 years ago, I became a dad myself, and I watched all the documentaries I could about education, and I'm scared for it. Like, I don't want her to go to regular school in Norway, because you get evaluated based only on your results, not on the work you did, not on the effort you made, not on how you thought, not on how you engaged people, not on your creative thinking, just if you got the final answer. And with increased amount of kids in each class, you're going to get less and less attention. And basically, you're just going to envy the people that get attention, who get the final answer right. Most of them are going to be cheaters. At least that's what it was when I was in school. A lot of people that got a lot of good answers, they looked at someone else, and the process gets forgotten. The way of learning, like watching my daughter just run around learning things. If I judge her just on her ability to jump, well, how does she learn to jump from other stuff? How does she find that interesting if I'm just happy with her result all the time? But like encouraging the road there and how they express themselves. But you can't have 22 or 30 kids per teacher if you want to do something of value. Like personally, like I believe universities could probably be bigger and have less long talks, more individual studies, and like schools for kids should be like 1 teacher for 3 kids or something, because they need to be able to express themselves, not to be like, I feel you were in on it, like being told this is the box you're going to fit in, and if you don't learn in this tempo, either faster or slower, well, this is the box. There's no other box.
Yeah, it's there was someone on Twitter in America. I noticed the other day tweeting about. They said something like 10 years ago, if you didn't send your child into mainstream education, people kind of looked at you funny and went, "What? You're not sending your child into mainstream education?" And they were saying in 10 years' time, it's going to be flipped. People are going to be saying, "What? You send your kids into mainstream education?" I'm not entirely sure. It's quite a simplistic thing, but I think there's a lot more innovation going on in education now that we're seeing around the world. And just to go back to that last podcast that we did as well with Josh Dan, they've created something called the Synthesis School, where any child across the world can join it and be doing problem solving skills with other kids around the world, and I think we're going to see more and more things like that. And I guess the NFT, the technology, the smart certificate side of it could be the structure beneath it, really.
Yeah. Imagine like we talked about before, coming from another country, let's say part of a humanitarian project. And actually, everything that you do is tied to you. Like, no one can take that from you when you get back, or no one can disrupt, like take away. You said you don't have to buy the certificate again because it's there. And I think that's But I think, like as we mentioned before, with the internet, NFTs now, it's up to companies, not just us, but companies like ours and people that are really putting their time into the tech to define where we go first. And I think, going to the countries where people really struggle with ownership is a way of showing the value. And then we can go to our countries and add the value into the institutions or into the system.
Well, it ties nicely into where I thought we could go in terms of. I know that you've talked about Enter.Art, and then you've kind of hinted at the next iterations will be about music and movies and streaming and all that kind of stuff. But I know that in your one of the things that you talked about, and it'd be worth if we could do both at some point. You're talking about EnterX as a concept, but then also talking to us about the charity projects that you're wanting to do and how that goes back. They'd be great just to kind of get us into that.
Of course. So the charity part is it's a multi-layer. With everything we do, it's multiple layers. But we want to do our own charity projects, and I have one really fun one tied to education that I'll mention in a bit. But we also want to really make it simple for artists around the world to tie part of their royalties to a charity. So as long as that charity has a public wallet address, which they can receive transactions, then they can actually collaborate with artists, and the artists can choose themselves, where do I want my money to go, which charity, and having this baked into the option for artists. Like so many artists I've talked to, they have these passion projects, they have these small local charities that they support, they have so many things happening, and doing something with them requires you rent a venue, you have to have like food, you increase the expenses, and you limit your time into making an event. You can probably do one a month without tiring yourself. But giving them an option to actually create an artwork a week for like make a charity collection, like there's so many options. But in regards to one of our own fantasy charity projects is exactly make a school into the creative arts, like go into countries where child labor is a big issue and give them an option. Like instead of sending your child to work at a factory, you can send them to or her to a school where they learn how to create creative arts. They learn how to create digital arts, they can learn tech, they can learn from the people that are contributing to the platform, and they can sell what they make while the kid owns everything because it's their personal ownership. And the funds can be locked until they get out of school, so they can actually build their future by getting an education. And you can, like I talked with you, you can theoretically then like produce people that have experienced love, that have experienced getting taught something without measuring the result, and that has experienced getting help from the world. And those kinds of people I want more of in the world. I don't see those kinds of people being made efficiently by the society. It's usually the opposite. And you could actually compete with the factories that use child labor by giving them a better way to make money that doesn't induce labor, that's fun and that's beneficial for them and the community, and that adds knowledge and value to the world.
I love that idea. That the fact that this technology can pull people out of poverty. I think that's the revolutionary stuff, isn't it? That's the. Yeah. I think the fact that they've given the voice to the voiceless and enabling people to pull themselves out of poverty in less and more unfortunate parts of the world. And if you guys can do just tiny thing towards that, then
that's the goal.
I'm behind you. Yeah, 100%.
And we wouldn't have to charge anything for anything, because everything is tied to that, again, tokenomics and creating this way of representing art. And imagine, I cannot imagine any respected artist in the world that wouldn't want to go to a school and teach kids how to make something, and then make a big drop with those kids and give that money to those kids. I think that's what artists are trying to do already, but so much money is getting wasted on marketing, on PR, on so many people that don't need to get the money. The kids, they need to get the money. That's the schools, the future of the world. That's where the money needs to go. And I know for a fact that a lot of artists I've talked to are like so excited to being able to do like global stuff without global spending. You don't have to buy ads in 9 different countries and 20 airplane tickets and have your entourage of 40 people to come and take pictures. You can just go there, teach kids, make something and sell it, and you can have fun while doing it.
I think I think that could be for every learner, though, couldn't it? We talk again. One of the big topics we talk about on this podcast is students having an authentic audience. So again, we're used to that. We used to. I don't know about yourself, Lykke, but when you're in school, you produce work. It gets stuck into a book, or you write it into a book, and it goes on a shelf. The teacher comes along, marks the book, goes back on the shelf. The end of the year, everyone gets to take their books home and they go in the bin. Like that. So all of that work.
No summary of that.
We were having, like, I work in a school, and we were having that discussion today about how we're gonna give the books to the kids at the end of the year to take home, because it's the end of the academic year next week, and all of that work that's happened there. Why not give the students, the learners, the ability to do something with it? They own that. That is their authentic work. It doesn't matter if they're 3-year-old in a preschool nursery, or if they're 18-year-old and creating a masterpiece on an A-levels art course. They own that work. So why not give them the agency to be able to do something with it, to be able to sell it, to be able to put it, to contribute to their family. Like I work in a school where a lot of our students, it's not a wealthy area, not by any stretch of the imagination, and the students are producing work, and some of them producing some phenomenal work as well. That why not give them the ability to have ownership of that and sell it if they want to sell it, or share ownership with it and get something back for that. I think if we were able to give our learners that that kind of ownership over their work, then that's another area that really excites me.
And like now, just to again imagine the future, because the conversation we are having now, which is like, it's a very progressive conversation, but we're all thinking, what if they had this option? What if they have this option? Imagine having this conversation again when they have the option, because now we're all limited, or it stops to what if this, and then we're trying to think of the possibilities after. But when it actually is happening, when we actually have everything we just talked about, that's when I'm excited, because that's what I feel happened to the internet. Everything that people talked about in the beginning had to happen, and then internet became something. And I've mentioned this before. I feel the internet was made to make blockchain possible. I feel this is basically the first proper use case for the internet, like globally, because the internet now, we can talk to each other, but unless you're owning the infrastructure or you're a really big player, then you're the one getting all the benefits. Like, people think, oh, Facebook is great for us. It's the worst thing in the world. It's basically you're the product. It's not of value to you. It's a value to someone else, but with blockchain, you can actually make sure that it's of value to you, and that you own all the information that you want to own and that you need to own on the site, and that it's no one else's power over you.
And that's awesome. You talked about before we went on air, you talked about the internet seemed to have been created by email, and that was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. We can now communicate like that. And now people are like, what? That's, people don't even realize that even
DM me.
Yeah, and they want to be different. Just as we kind of, I suppose, we come towards a close. I mentioned there about Enter.X, and I know that Enter.X is something that is exciting, because it's not just about it's about other people, isn't it, as well, and about being able to then develop their own stuff. I wondered if you could just give us a bit of an insight into that.
Of course. Like, the gist of it is the way we're building our technology is based on micro applications and a really scalable way of making new verticals. So once we have all the features that we need to sustain any type of platform, and that's why we're strategically building in the order we're building it, we can basically reproduce this for another company in a matter of days with little to no cost. So let's say a car company wants to start to sell their cars and they want a marketplace. We can do everything for them. We can integrate. They can get their own admin panel, everything. And the only thing we require is that you use our token for the transactions on the marketplace. That is so people can get the value from making NFTs, making ownable items, making ownable contracts. We're wanting to get into property, renting movies, like stuff like that. You can get into the business without having to build your own smart contracts, or without having to build your own technology, because not everyone is supposed to build technology. But a lot of people have good ideas that can, with technology, add a lot of value. So that's our goal with Enter.X. And it's so fun because I had a talk with a company that started a lot earlier than us, that's also into NFTs. And we had a meeting. I'm not going to put them out there, but we had a meeting, and their plan was basically to do a bit of what we are now doing alone in around 6 months. And they have gotten a lot of support, like a lot. And the way that I was pitched it, because they thought that we would be interested in their services, is we're going to build this and we're going to split the fees. And I was like, but isn't that the whole point here? Why we need to give these tools to the people? That's what the internet was. You gave tools to people all around the world, and it was, as long as you have the internet connection, it's free to use. The point of that was that I feel, because we're so little focused on making stuff ourselves, the Enter.X is going to be a community platform where the people, the ones that want to contribute, can actually get value without giving away anything. And I think that's going to be powerful for content creators, and by content creators I mean everyone basically.
Yeah, I guess just going back to business, how are you viewing competitors? Because we're seeing, like you say, we're seeing some of the big players in this field starting to create their own NFT marketplaces. Binance just launched theirs a couple of weeks ago. What's your relationship like with competition there?
I love competition. It really it gives me a lot of energy, and like, I don't know what other people have behind the scenes. I know what some projects have behind the scenes because I've been having video chats with some, and they're trying to, I think they're trying to figure out like what we have behind the scenes. But so far, we're so far ahead of everyone that it's not, it's what we communicate outwards is like our idea of progression, but what we're trying to build, I have not yet seen anyone. Like, the first meeting I had was with this other company that's like has the same idea, but they're gonna charge money for it. So yeah, we're gonna have competition in the probably the corporate or the heavily commercialized areas in the beginning. But when people can get equal or better functionality without someone charging for it, well, I've run a business a lot of years, and I know that's an easy choice. If the features are better or the same, and the value is better or the same, and the cost is less, then that's what you choose. And since the other platforms haven't built their own token and economical system, they need to take fees to have a business. So that's what I feel. But I also know that at any point anything can change. But our team is able to bridge to any project or any blockchain based on the Solidity language. And we have some partnerships we've not talked about that basically makes us pretty ready for if something or someone were to come out of the blue with something, we can scale that very fast and catch up. And I don't know any other project that has that development team capability that we have.
Yeah,
like all this, they're coming up with their ideas maybe last year, and they're building their team and getting the best developers in the world without like not they all have jobs. So having the back end being built the last 8 years, it's it's pretty unique.
yeah, it's a great mindset to have. I've been reading a lot. I've been reading a book by Simon Sinek called The Infinite Game, and it's exactly the kind of attitude that he says that successful businesses have. That it's not about the finite games. It's not about those short term wins, but it's having the eye on that infinite game, that you're building something that's going to last, that's going to outlive you. It's not something that you. Yeah. So I love the mindset there. I really do. Before we do end, so what I know you just recently, I think a week ago, published a roadmap for Enter that leads into the fourth quarter of this year. So what you guys working hard on at the moment? What can we expect next from the platform?
Tying it back to how the backend is built, we're just building the features we need for the Enter audio platform now, because everything else is ready. We have the design ready, we have the flows ready, we just need to build our own take on a web player, and our own take on how to upload albums and singles and organizing stuff, because no one has that yet. Like, it will be the first time you can actually, as an artist, upload your album in this way and create your story in this way and sell it without ever having help from anyone. And once we have those features, it's redefining what features we need for Enter Gaming. And once we have those features, I think we have all the features we need to release the rest of the platform. So then it's just like marketing and just making sure we have users for all the platforms.
It's exciting.
But
So for when we're seeing this coming forward,
yeah.
so we're excited.
Well, that's a small thing. Like that's the platform. We're doing DeFi, we're doing staking, we're doing so many cool things that's not even on the. It's like 3 different projects, but we can talk about that another time.
Yeah,
once we get actually into education, then I'll come back if you want me.
Yeah,
definitely. So in terms of like somebody wants to get involved, whatever level, whether they're an artist or they want to invest, what's the best way to do that? I know we can follow you on socials and whatever else, but how could somebody get involved with this?
We have our site Enter.Help, which is our like support system where you can get some information about NFTs, about Enter, about our token. And there you can also submit requests and we have our site Enter.Art, which is our marketplace. And there you can connect and you can sign up to become a creator. But we also like the best way to get in touch with the community, because the company is a small part of it, but the community is like the big thing. And that is at discord.gg/enter. It's very simple, and I'm very happy Discord gave it to us. So if you go to discord.gg/enter, you'll get into our Discord server, and there we're about 21,500 people now, I think. Yeah, 21,511 members in the server. And most of them have been there for the past 2-3 months, talking to each other and getting to know about the project. So if you want to get in touch, that's a good way.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think let's keep the conversation going while you guys are working away. We'll keep thinking the education side, and let's keep talking about this. Maybe the next podcast we'll come visit you in Oslo.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that will be cool. Actually, we should do that.
Yeah,
definitely.
We like that.
Yeah. All right, Lykke, amazing to have you on.
Me.
Thanks for coming on and spending all this time with us.
I love it. Happy.
All right, take care.
It's fun to talk about something that, like, all the questions I get just being in our Discord and stuff is very tied to the platform. And I think that's fun too. But I think blockchain is so much more than any single platform. It's a way of thinking.
Yeah.
You owning your own life. Powerful.
Yeah. Awesome. And you've definitely given us and our listeners an insight into that thought process as well. And got us excited about the future, which is kind of our aim. So thank you very much, and have a lovely evening. Yeah. I'm loving the LED lights around it as well, just to give it that extra emphasis.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye-bye.